mornings. And that, of course, is the half hour where a bunch of guys get together, have some lunch and a cigar, and open up the Word. And with a half hour, we don't have time to dig in too deep, so we're going to have the verse of the day. Judge does the verse of the day, and I think it's a good one, Judge. So I think we'll go ahead and do that today. But please go ahead and share this and comment, and we'll try to keep up with you and answer live if we can. Otherwise, go ahead and share with your friends. That's when most of the views happen, is sort of after the live broadcast. But thanks for joining us. And let's jump in, Judge. What do we got today?
So you said this is a good verse as opposed to the bad verses in the Bible?
No. We thought that instead of sharing our favorite verses, we kind of like,
good enough to
we like the
This
published
is one of the favorites.
verse of the day. So we'll go with the verse of the day in case people have the Bible app.
And I'm sure it's somebody's favorite.
Yeah, someone's favorite.
All right,
critics, right out of the gate.
Today, as verse of the day, the Judge's Daily Devotional is Psalms 139. It's verses 13 and 14 out of the NIV. Psalms 139, 13 and 14. Each of us was created with great reverence and to inspire awe in the world. Excuse me, that's my comments. The verse of the day.
I'm thinking, is that the Living Bible?
This is actually the word.
It's the paraphrase, Judge's paraphrase.
For you created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. That's Psalms 39, 13, 14. And my comments were, each of us was created with great reverence and to inspire awe in this world. Our God knew exactly what he was doing. Live up to your potential. I think, I got a lot of neat comments from people this morning. I think that it's a very simple verse, and we've all heard it before, and it's somebody's favorite, I'm sure. But I think sometimes we as men especially, we kind of have a tendency to downplay ourselves, and we hope as Christians, we don't boast and we don't realize how much potential we have. And I think that, in Hebrew, the word fearfully. We hear we hear fearfully about fear of the Lord and so on, and that really means to be in awe of the Lord. You and Joe have taught me that. That was one of my questions. The Bible talks about fearing the Lord. I never feared the Lord. He said, no. You got to understand the translation really is in awe of the Lord. So I think that we need to be aware of the fact that we were perfectly made. We were perfectly made in the womb. We were made so that the world should be in awe of us. That's how we all have things that are really special to us. That's the individuality. And I think that sometimes we just don't realize that. And we also have deficiencies. We have deficiencies that God put into us. And we don't need to be afraid of those, because those give us the opportunity to meet our brothers and sisters. They really help us with our deficiencies, and that's part of the Christian community. So I think this is an amazing verse. I really do.
It's a great verse. I'm thinking, automatically my head goes to, so God didn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
When he made us.
Do it.
No, I think the mistake is that we don't recognize that we were purpose-built. We
Yes.
were built for a specific purpose.
Every one of us.
He knows what is going to happen, right? And so he built us before we were born, built us in a way to accomplish his will, and we just kind of need to hurry up and figure out how we plan to use it.
That's part of accepting your faith, finding your mission, finding your calling. What's important for you?
It's a big deal. People say, I'm trying to find myself, or they need purpose. And you know what? It isn't just about, you hear it a lot with a career. Well, no, he's got a kingdom purpose for every single one of us. And we need to find out what it is. I ask each other, like, what am I good at? What do you think is God? What's God doing?
It sounds kind of corny, but I swear to you, so many people ask me, why did you want to be a judge? Why did you want to be a judge? And I really felt like I had a calling. I was happy practicing law. I had a good career. I had my own practice. But I felt like I had a calling. And I look back at my career, and there's so many times when people come up to me, even people I've sent to prison come up to me and say, Judge, I really want to thank you. You treated me with respect, and I never would be who I was today if you hadn't sent me to prison. And all the little things, the adoptions, the custody issues, all the little things I did, I think that we all have a purpose. And sometimes you have to listen to that Holy Spirit saying, step out of your comfortable practice. I wasn't working hard every day. I didn't have somebody watching when I came to work or how long of a lunch I took. But I had this calling in my ear. I think it was the Holy Spirit saying, there's something that you can do to help your community.
That's cool. I agree with that. And something that I've been thinking about lately, as I get older, not wiser, just older. I've gotten to understand that sometimes we don't need to actually guide somebody or talk somebody in a different direction. Maybe our job at that point is to listen and just be a good listener. Maybe somebody just needs us to listen to what they're dealing with, right? And be a good listener sometimes. And and I'm starting to do that.
Oh, you're
instead of trying to instead of trying to fix problems for somebody else, maybe they're just like, hey, can you listen to me? So, and then now I'm like slowly learning that. Listen, I need to be a good listener as well, and not just somebody that wants to take charge all the time and tell somebody how to fix things. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's just my thought also, right? And we forget that we need to be that part too.
Yeah.
This is where sometimes we just need to sit and listen.
Well, we know the right tool for the job. We always say there's a right tool for the job. You see someone struggling with a screwdriver trying to get something done. I'm like, they make a tool that'll do that, right? You know that.
Yeah.
We're like, if you had a 15 socket wrench, you would be done by now.
Yeah.
And that's how we are. I mean, God knew ahead of time, and He built us exactly how He plans to use us. And so how do we do that? How do we take advantage of? So, we don't have to argue whether this is true. Obviously, we're all in agreement. This happened. This is how it was. The Bible says it. He built us this way ahead of time. So what does that mean?
Well, I'm just thinking about this, that if the only tool you have to fix any problem is a hammer, then every problem is a nail.
Every problem's a nail.
Every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah. And that's not true, right?
Right.
So my tool might be a hammer, Devin's might be a wrench, and if the problem is a bolt, well then Devin needs to be a part of the solution, not
so the body. So we got to work together? Is that what you're saying?
That's
or
what
am
I'm
I just
thinking.
jumping on your...
No, that's true. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, so...
I believe that time is short, and we cannot just listen all the time. We need to insert Christ is coming soon, and that we need Jesus, and the way the world is going now. Time is short.
So you're saying be a little more aggressive because we're called to...
I believe we need to listen and be friends and get trust, but at the end of the day, we need to lay it down. So
earn the right to be heard.
Earn the right to be heard
By listening and caring,
and be loved. But
it's a lot, Bill. It comes outside of your comfort zone, and this verse pairs a lot well with the phrase "Imago Dei," image of God. Everyone's made in the image of God, so it's not something where we should only minister to those in our immediate surroundings. Because as we read here, everyone in the image of God was knit fearfully and wonderfully made, and so it's an opportunity to go out and show that good word to as many people as you can. Like you're saying, we don't know when the time will come. So we're standing outside a burning house. We need to run in and do everything we can because we don't know when the roof's coming down. So we got to do everything we can, save everybody, not just your friends, not just your family. every single person you come in contact with, if you can, try and get that out there, because they too are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Well, so here's a thought. You know, we talk about that we need to find our purpose. How were we made? God made each of us individual. So we've got like gifts, we've got histories, we've got skills and gifts, and then we have situations and spheres of influence. And I think about all of that, and it should be pretty obvious what we're supposed to do. But at the same time, when you look at the Bible, even with all of that being made for a purpose, he used people that only accomplished, what we read about through him. Like he actually will, if we don't feel qualified and he uses us, that's just more proof that it was God making it happen.
I was gonna say.
So I mean, we don't want to sit back and go, well, I'm not a great speaker, so I'm not going to step into that. I think it's about the opportunity too.
So many times we need to step out of our comfort zone to use
Yes.
those tools, because God's walking with you.
We get hung up and say, well, I'm made a certain way, right? And that's
I'm not
what
able to
it
do
was.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's not it. You know, nobody signs up and says, I'm going to go all in for God. Please send me to the mission field. Send me to Borneo in the middle of the jungle and, have my family's lives in danger. And no one says, please do that. When they're going all in, they're trusting that God's going to give them something that they're made for, that they think they can handle, and hopefully isn't too difficult. But
I don't know if ever, recorded in the Bible at least, and we can even look through our immediate history and such like Billy Graham, there's been someone who's been qualified on the face before they enter into their field of work, into their ministry work. I can't think of any. If you're in the comments, let me know of any. But Moses wasn't an orator. He had a big old stutter, couldn't talk, and he became in the face. It's always the opposite. It's always the children.
It's a double-edged sword, because we started out saying, we all need to figure out what we're gifted at. How did God make us so we can be used? At the same time, we're also saying, but He'll use you no matter what. It's kind of like, what it's like? We could probably go around the room and find out what your degree is in.
Oh, geez.
I know Jazz. Most people aren't using their degrees for the career they're in.
Correct.
So it's like you're saying, they were.
And then in this scenario, it's where all the best inventors, right, the real big people, usually don't have degrees. That's kind of what this is. We got all that where it's kind of jumbled up with if you go in to get a degree, and usually it's the people without a degree that end up doing something. And that's how it is in the Old Testament, New Testament, here, all throughout. That it's the people it's always who you least expect.
I'm kind of going back to the idea that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. I think in my mind anyhow, if I were just looking at it at face value, I would say then that everything God makes is perfect. But that's not necessarily true. I mean, it's true, but from just kind of looking at it, saying, well, what about the person who's born with a deformity? That's not perfect. Yet, we would have to say, that, but is it outside of God's design or is it inside of God's design? I'm thinking it would have to be inside of God's design.
And so many times that makes that person special, makes that person so special to the world. There's so many times when I worked for a lady that was in a wheelchair her entire life. She was one of the finest attorneys I've ever known, and did so much for me in my career, and did so much for people that she had contact with. An amazing woman. And so I think for them, it was made perfect. For them, it gave them the opportunities and the motivation to be that special.
Paul, the Apostle Paul, said he prayed 3 times for the Lord to remove the thorn in his flesh. Now, we don't know what that is, but it could have been a physical malady, could have been a deformity, it could have been any number of things, right? He prayed that it would be healed, so that he would be free from whatever it is that was bothering him. But God said, no, my grace is sufficient for you. You know, my grace is made perfect in your weakness, right? So I know a lot of this is confusing in a beautiful way, right? That we don't have to have it all figured out. It's more a matter of saying, okay, God, I don't really fully understand why, but I trust you with the why I don't know.
I think it's how we want to, on the surface, understand that we were all fearfully and wonderfully made. We want it to be this selfish picture for ourselves that we're, tall and good looking and have no health issues and have a great job.
Like me.
Right. But those guys, I don't trust those guys. I always say,
Not like me.
I never trust a man without a limp. Because unless you've gone through the crap, and God is the one who has gotten you through it, and I kind of feel like that's the case with him, asking for that to be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't have that constantly recentering him, needing God,
And
who knows what he'd run off and do and not focus on what he was supposed to do.
Right.
And don't you think sometimes that God gets your attention that way?
Right.
In other words, when things are going so well and you're thinking, my God, everything's just wonderful, everything's going so well, boom, yes, that's when you should get scared and wonder what's coming. Because I think God works in funny ways. I think he gives you that nudge and says, yeah, you think things are right? Yeah, watch this.
Jazz is nervous. Everything's going really good for him right now.
No. Hey, listen, man, I'm already down there.
He's gone through
I'm already
this.
gone through
Oh,
it.
this is all about
It's not
you.
even over yet.
This is the bounty.
No, it's not even about yet.
But sometimes,
Yeah, I'm still down.
and I'll bet you feel like when things were going so well, he
Yeah.
tapped me and said, wow, there's something better for you. He made it look bad at the time, but there's something better for you.
Yeah, no, you have to trust him. Yeah, you have to believe in
sometimes
him.
the something better is something that we would think is bad.
Yeah,
Because the better draws us closer
doesn't
to
look
him.
better at the time.
It just draws us closer to him though. And that's what he wants us to do, is be connected to me.
And I'm not making any judgment here, Judge. It's kind of weird about what you had said in your history, that sheriffs and being a judge and stuff. But when I think about it, that may not have actually been what you were fearfully and wonderfully made for. That may simply be your past and your history that then gets used for what you were really made for.
Well, I thought
I know a different man today than I knew 5 years ago.
I
You
thought
guys doing amazing stuff through you. I mean, I hope you can accept that.
no, thank you.
But I tell you what, it takes a while to find how God's.
It's a process.
Yes, it's a process, and who knows? I mean, be great if we could all figure it out when we're graduating from high school and then live our entire life in that.
But if it was easy, would you appreciate it as much? I think that's God's lesson.
But Eric, we had it figured out when we were in high school. We don't have it figured out now.
We did have it all figured
The
out.
older you get, the less you know.
So the plan was perfect. It's the execution that fell flat. So I wanted to jump back to what Scott said. I do think God sees us as perfect. However, because we're his creation, we do have flaws. It's similar to your wife or your kids. If you see them, you say, you are perfect, you are blameless. I find no fault with you, you're perfect. This person totally has faults, but in your eyes, no, they're mine. They're perfect. And that's, I think, how it is. We're fearfully, wonderfully made. He hand knit each and every one of us together. We're his kid. We're perfect. We have all these issues, and of course, that's where the salvation comes through. But I do think that he views us as perfect the same way we would view our own kids.
I waffle between hearing, especially if it's a pastor from the pulpit where they self-deprecate, is that what you call it? Where
Yes.
But on the same hand, maybe expressed a little differently, where they really have a clear understanding of their limp and where they limp and what they're. those are the guys you really see God being able to use. Those are the guys you can really trust because they're honest with themselves and honest with who their real partner is, which is God. I still go back to, it's super hard to trust someone that's got it. It's like so perfect. It's like, what is that fake town that show about this town?
I know you're talking about,
Yeah.
Don't worry, darling. Or
No,
Smallville.
Anyway.
Oh, is that what it is?
No,
That's
that's super.
The Truman Show.
Hey, it doesn't matter. So the perfect, picture town, and everyone is all got a kid. They're all an absolute wreck. They got issues. People have chronic pain. I mean, my shoulder's hurting me right now. I mean, there's so many things that go into having to give yourself over and just trust God for the day to be able then to be used. That just being honest with that, and I love that Jazz is like, hey, I realize I want to listen more because he loves the other person instead of like jumping in trying to fix it. He's going to listen more. I mean, if we can all kind of find those things to be better and be able to be then used better, I mean, it's like we need to hurry up and do that so we can stop blocking our own blessings.
Right.
I mean, I almost feel like because we're not getting there proactively, we're not able to, live in the plan He has for us. That abundant life, I think, comes from surrendering and being honest about all that junk.
And so many times, inaction and listening is a huge action. You have to consciously be still and listen. And that inaction is a very difficult action for men sometimes.
Well, you know what's great about the life? If you've got a significant other and you actually do that and you just wait, you're listening, right?
They'll pay full what.
It's really great, except when they're actually, and you can't tell the difference, by the way, they're actually wanting your advice and wanting you to fix it, and then they go, can you just tell me what to do? Oh, this is the greatest day. And they actually just say, like, I'm telling you. I go, oh, you wanted me to fix it? It's like, now I'm asking you, but, it takes a while of listening before they actually want you to fix it.
I love it.
I just had to throw that in.
So we've got 10 minutes left. Usually we'll blow right through it. So I want to see if we can't. No, we've got 10 minutes. I want to see if we can't pivot on the verse back to the verbiage of the verse. It talks about how we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and I tried to tie that into the we're made in the image of God, the Imago Dei. We're in the image of God. How does that outflow in your reactions to other people? Because I feel like as soon as I close the door of my car, the image of God falls away from everybody, and everyone on the road's my enemy. So I don't know how that works with you guys. How does that flow in your daily life? That other people, no matter how much they get you, are also fearfully and wonderfully made.
It's part of my ministry. I'm educating them on how to properly drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of your ministry.
Well, not that specific,
driving
but just
ministry.
more broadly.
Well, I just, when you say that, now I'm definitely not patient enough. If I have things that need to happen, I feel like people want a piece of you, and I got no patience for it. And it just, that's wrong.
Because I know I sure don't. I don't think you do. Sit down in that situation and say, God made this person with incredible reverence, thought out their entire life, and gave them all the skills and attributes He thought necessary for them to live. I don't sit and think that. I just say, listen, so be whatever.
But we certainly should never discount somebody else, where we think just on the surface that they don't have anything to offer, or they're not running at the same speed you are, and you just sort of write them off. That's
Chris, I want to put you on the spot. You said something to me today that was just amazing. We are also created with deficiencies.
Yeah.
Talk about that a minute.
So, I love your verse you shared today. I went off because I used that verse to teach my son. And I told him, I go, God gave you strengths to help others, to serve others, and then deficiencies where you're going to need others and need Him.
That's so important.
And I said, don't be proud of your strengths, and don't be torn down by your weaknesses, because He made you because you are broken together, right? I mean, you need other people, and when I look at it, you're blessed just as much by what you can't do well as you are by those things that you can do well. Because if you do it the right way, you become in harmony with God and what He made you for. He made you to receive some things, and He made you to give some things. So it's kind of this balancing. Anyway,
that was very profound.
Yeah.
We have to recognize those deficiencies, and that's the community of brotherhood that we live in, and use each other for those strengths that they have.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think it's so important that people actually find a home church and get in community. We talked about this before about, you know, you're a believer, you and your wife, and like, you don't need to go to church. You love God, praise God together, no problem. But you know what we do?
You know, Chris, sorry.
No, go ahead. That was it. Just
Going back to what you said, I think I would raise my hand and say, I'm a guy that tries to use my strengths to cover up my deficiencies almost every day. And I can't believe what you just said is hit home for me is what I need to think about. And this is also comes in part where I sat here and listened to you, and look what good came of that as well. Right? I mean, like we were talking about. So thank you for that. I need to start looking at my deficiencies and seeing who can help me with them and start just covering them up and just using my strengths to show off.
Yeah, I have missed not being on the road the last couple of weeks, but I have found that in the sharing that we were doing on Thursdays, there's been a lot of guys just being vulnerable about how they hurt, about what they're going through. And when we're vulnerable to our deficiencies or in the situations that we're in, then others can minister to us. But also you're ministering to other people because there's somebody else hurting just like you are.
Yeah.
There's somebody else that feels just as bad about I can't do X or whatever that might be. And then they don't feel like, it's amazing how accepting that becomes a part of being the whole person that God wants you to be, not just the good stuff.
Yeah.
We all want to project the strength, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want. I mean, we're all just like you. We want to project that I got it. I'm there, but we're not.
As Jazz was talking, I was thinking about the verse, one of the verses that we talk a lot about in HolySmoke groups, men's groups, you know, come alongside the brotherhood, and the verses that as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. I mean, and that's just what I like, just watched it happen right there.
Yeah.
And I think that goes right back to this verse. We were made specifically, not just for us, but to help others and to lift each other up. So instead of it being a room full of broken guys that individually can't handle stuff, together God can help us do anything.
Because there's another brother that has a strength where you have a weakness.
Right.
And it comes together. Yeah.
Interesting.
It just this, you know, processing all of this, and we're starting a new series on Sunday called Show and Tell. We're walking through 1 John chapter 1 verses 1 through 4 this Sunday, and the chapter or verse 4 says, after it talks about this idea of joining Christ and joining one another, John says that when you join us, essentially, you make our joy complete. Our joy becomes more complete. As I just kind of listen to you talk, it's this idea that I've been a pastor most of my life, and pastors oftentimes care about two things, not always. Do we have enough money coming in to do what we want to do? And two, are there enough butts in the seat? We measure our success by those two things. And I don't think that's what John is talking about. Hey, let's be sure we have a bigger church. I think what he's saying, as I just listened to you, that the more people that join us, the more we contribute to our deficiencies. So we become more complete the more people that join with us in what we're doing. So in a HolySmoke group, you start out with two guys. That's great. I mean, it's awesome. But if someone else joins, you become more complete. And someone else joins, you become more complete. Now you can reverse that. You can say, look at how great we are because we have 26 guys that are HolySmoke thing. Boy, that really affirms my ego. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about that the more that really join, lock arms together, the more complete we become in terms of what God's called us to be. I mean, that's powerful. At least the way it's speaking to me right now, it's kind of powerful.
Yeah.
Don't you just love it? See, what we're doing here, this is a 30-minute kind of virtual version of what Scott and Eric were talking about, Holy Smoke. It's a group of guys that get together all nationwide, and we smoke a cigar, and we have a conversation like this. It's not a sermon, it's a conversation. Wouldn't you love your Sunday sermon to be able to tell the pastor how you really feel? We say Holy Smoke's about the length of a cigar. I'm barely getting into this one, so we're going to finish here because this is just a 30-minute preview. Go ahead and inquire within. We'll give you some information on how to join a Holy Smoke group. Otherwise,
Or start one.
or start one. Yeah, we're nationwide. Otherwise, we'll see you same time, same place, noon Pacific Standard Time here on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, however the heck you found us. Have a great week.
Thanks.